speaker is this beautiful lady. We have Halley Elise with us. Now, Halley, how many of you know Halley? Anybody? Halley. Yes. She is an author.
Halley.
Halley, sorry. Halley. She is an author, she is a speaker, and she is a psychic, something that I don't know a lot about. I'm so curious to find out more. What is intriguing, if you look at her bio, she is actually ranked in the top 100 psychics in America.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
It is amazing. Big round of applause. Halley is incredible. And just meeting you today, you're warm, you're compassionate, you can just feel it. It just oozes from you. You're amazing. You are amazing. And you know what she does is, I can tell just from reading about you that it's your passion, it's your mission to commingle two things, right? Your intellect and your intuition. Isn't that wonderful? Think of those two.
You are so psychic to know that.
Oh! Why, thank you, Andrea. So please join me in welcoming Halley.
So long that I've been in person due to some familial issues that I'm going to set a timer and maybe I can actually stay on time. Before that though, I'm going to take a moment and just look out and see all of your beautiful faces. So nice to see everyone here. Some familiar folks, some not familiar, some new friends. The whole idea of commingling intuition and intellect sounds kind of funny. Like, well, what's the point? Okay, so we have the right hemisphere of our brain, and we have left hemisphere of our brain. Well, they both do different things. It's on, but it doesn't sound so loud. Is it possible?
Turn it on a little
I
louder.
could put it up here, but can you raise the mic a little? Maybe?
Can you raise the mic a little?
No, yes.
Can you move away from the screen so we can film you? Because otherwise the screen is...
Sorry about that.
The volume.
Okay.
1 second, we're going to check.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Ooh, that's better. All right, we're going to try that again. Is everybody ready?
Yes.
Okay. Commingling intuition and intellect. Sounds kind of like a weird type of thing. But the idea is to really have the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere of the brain working together. And why might that be a benefit? Now we think, well, the right side is creative, and we use that when we need it. And the left side is analytical, and we use that when we need it. But the truth of the matter is, more often than not, we go back and forth. For instance, did you know that problem solving is actually more right hemisphere than left? You would think linear, right? Nope. Abstract, creative, that all comes from the right hemisphere of the brain. Now, the left hemisphere of the brain, that's the part of us that a lot of people say, oh, it's ego, it's bad. You shouldn't have ego. However, ego can serve us. And if, for instance, you see a cute little kitten in the middle of the street, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta go out, I gotta save the kid, I gotta do it. The linear part of your brain, that left hemisphere goes, hey, dummy, wait, did you see if there were any cars coming? There is a point to both sides of our brain. But as Noah was saying earlier, vibration needs to be lifted. When the two halves of our brain is working in tandem, it's easier for us to connect with our higher consciousness. It's easier for us to have a higher vibration. Matter of fact, there's a gentleman, some of you may or may not know him. His name is Ed Edwards. You can actually go online and look up ededwards.com. Very interesting fellow. He's been under study for many years from the scientific community as well as the spiritual community. He operates at a very high vibration. Now, when we think of vibration, a lot of times we think in terms of a spiritual healer, for instance. If someone is doing Reiki, we go to them and we come out and we're like, ooh, I feel good, they worked on me. You can do that yourself. See, what you probably didn't know was that you are your own superhero. Now think about this for a minute. Sadly, we get desensitized. When we're little, no, that's not what you think that is. That's a box. No, that's not black. It's gray. It's not green, it's mint. So every time you start to look at something and you start to connect with it, you have somebody telling you, nope, that's not what it is. So that part of your mind that normally would be like, yay, I get to be here, I get to do things, I get to interact, it gets shut down. And we don't realize it a lot of times until things pop up in our life. So for instance, dealing with Cassie, and she goes and she roots around in your past, and she makes sure to find out what's going on there. A lot of times, it's connected to that part of yourself that you didn't get to play with, that you didn't get to use. Now, this evening, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna make it so easy for you to reconnect with your higher consciousness. And I brought a tool with me that I know every one of you has at home. 1 minute, I'm gonna pull this out. Okay, now we're ready. You have a tinfoil hat at home, yes? Tinfoil hat at home? Yes? Come on, everybody does, right? Okay. We don't really need the tinfoil hat. That's too taxing to have. There are other ways, though, that we can do this. Let's find out first, though, where you are. Did you know it was as simple as closing your eyes to find out if you're using, in this moment, more of your consciousness, or your higher consciousness, or your super consciousness, or if you're creative or more linear? Nobody knew that, did they? Okay, everyone, for 1 moment, close your eyes. Just close your eyes. Take a nice, deep breath. Open your eyes. Now if you're thinking, okay, so what was that about? I mean, really, I closed my eyes for 2 seconds and? By show of hands, how many of you saw just black? A couple? A few? Okay, and how many of you saw mixed colors? Okay, how many of you saw kind of black and white or possibly gray? How many of you saw squiggles or dots or some sort of weird little thing going on? And how many of you saw silhouettes, like perhaps an energy silhouette of what was in front of you? Okay, now if you look around the room, or if you had looked around the room as I did, you would notice that there are a lot of different responses, and that's because we are all individuals. Now, those of you who just saw black in this moment, you're bad, go home. No, just kidding, just kidding. Actually, it simply means that in this moment, you're primarily focusing with that linear part of the brain. That part that says, this has to be concrete. I need to know about this. I can't go into that airy-fairy woo-woo stuff. I need something practical, but only for this moment. Now, if you had where it was kind of swirly, little polka dots, a little of this, a little bit of that, in this moment, you're primarily focusing and connecting to that abstract, that creative, that part that actually is aware of your divine consciousness. So all of you people who just saw black, close your eyes again. See if you see something different. Now in this moment, and again, I keep saying this moment, you may find that nothing's changed. However, as you start to raise your vibration, as you start to be open to more awareness, as you start to embrace the idea of not being desensitized from when you were a child, but reconnecting, all of a sudden things start to shift. Okay, so again, what's the point? All right, I'm going to meld the left part of my brain with the right part of my brain, and then what? Am I going to become a millionaire? You actually might. And if you go, what? Wait, that makes no sense. What are you talking about? I already found out earlier this evening that I need to go through hypnosis so that I'm not spending a fortune on therapy, and I will get millions of dollars. Now, all you're telling me is I have to whoosh my brain together? No whooshing necessary. Use the foil hat. In all sincerity, we're going to do a little exercise. And the purpose of this exercise really and truly has to do with you connecting with you. It has to do with your breath. And it also has to do with letting go of that linear thinking just for a moment. And as soon as you start to do this, you will notice that there's more energy. You will notice that you're vibrating at a higher level. Anybody want to vibrate at a higher level? Be more loving, attract money, all that good stuff? All right. So, I will request, at least for now, and for the rest of this talk, that you're open. Open. In other words, drop any preconceived ideas of what it's going to feel like, or what it's going to look like, or what's going to happen next. And just go with the flow. See, that's the truth about when that commingling takes place. You're just going with the flow. The other thing that I will request, if you're open to it, so that you get the whole experience, is simply uncross. Uncross your legs, uncross your arms, uncross your eyes. Well, I mean, if you have to have your eyes crossed, it's okay. And what we're going to do is metered breathing. And if you're like, okay, yeah, and that's what I call it. A lot of people have different terms for it, but it simply means that I'm going to count, and as I count, you are going to breathe in. And then I'm going to say pause, and you're going to pause. You're not going to breathe in, you're not going to breathe out. You're just going to be still for that pause. And then I'm going to count outward, and you'll exhale, and then I'll have you pause again, still. So if you would, just follow my voice. Closing your eyes honestly makes it easier because you can concentrate better. The whole idea here is to connect with you. I'm just facilitating. You could do this at home though, once you get this down, and what's really cool about this, within 3 minutes, there is this like softening of your whole body. You can get jelly-like. Your mind starts to feel as if there is no pressure in the world. And all of a sudden your breathing is naturally deeper and fuller, which means you're oxygenated. So if everybody's ready, may I see a sign with the hands? Only some people are ready? Jeesh. Okay. Go ahead and take a nice breath and then close your eyes. And then release that. Now in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Allow your breathing to go back to its normal pattern. And just notice for a moment, how are you feeling? Do you notice the shoulders are a little more relaxed? Do you notice that when you were counting and breathing and your eyes were closed, there really was nothing else taking place? All right, for those of you who did not open your eyes. And let's try again what we did from the beginning, which was you close your eyes to see what was there. So go ahead and just close your eyes for a moment. Notice what's there. Is it dark? Is it light? Is it different? Take a nice breath and open your eyes. Show of hands, anybody notice anything different if before they didn't have anything? Or if they did, it changed? Yeah. It's that simple. Now, normally I would do 3 minutes, but for some reason my voice just started to go away as I was counting. So you got a little piece of that. But what I would suggest is that you take 3 minutes a day. Set the timer on your phone. Everybody's got a phone, and if you don't, you know somebody who does, or they know somebody who does. I mean, really, there's phones everywhere. 3 minutes. 3 minutes per week. I guarantee you will notice a difference. You will notice a difference in your energy. You will notice a difference in your thinking. Your thinking will actually become clearer. You will be vibrating at a higher vibration. How simple is that? 3 minutes a day for 7 days. I have to stop doing that. I'm moving my head and not bringing the mic with me. That's bad. Okay, so that was an easy one. You got to see for yourself, because as you know, I didn't come over and wave anything across your eyes while your eyes were closed. You had to notice for you, what did you see? You got to see something different. You got to breathe. Now, all of these things, as you can notice, are really very simple, not giving anything complicated. Now, let me tell you why this is important. Unlike Cassie, I don't have the same names that I use over and over. Sometimes I use Jack and Jill. Sometimes I use Tina and Louise. You just never know. But in this case, I'm going to use Anne. Anne was having issues at work. She heads up a very large department at the hospital, has a big crew under her, and every single day is miserable. She ends most days crying. She gets into her car, she starts sobbing before she even goes home. She doesn't think and doesn't feel that she can do it. She doesn't think she's good enough. She doesn't think her peers respect her. She doesn't think that people under her think that she's smart enough. She just is always feeling on edge. She just doesn't know what to do. Given a few different exercises, one of them, believe it or not, was this little 3-minute ditty that we did. She started to really work on her, to dig in and try to understand why is it she's feeling this way. Come to find out, she has a superpower, hypersensitivity. This is why she's running around feeling so miserable all the time. It's not necessarily the people in her immediate space, but it's because she's picking up on everything and everyone. There are those of us who are very empathic, not just empathetic, but empathic. Take somebody like this gal, who's highly sensitive, very compassionate, and really wants to do a good job. And she has no way to create a barrier around herself, no way to understand that what she's feeling she can let go of, and it can just flow. When she made the decision to work on herself, she did so for a period of time. I think it was all of 8 months, which in the relative thinking here is not a long period of time in someone's life to make a major change. At the end of the 8 months, she got a raise, number one. At the end of 8 months, she actually took on new members on her team. And at the end of 8 months, she realized she was no longer sobbing. She was no longer feeling miserable. She realized her superpower, hypersensitivity. My point here is, when we begin to commingle our understanding, we connect to our higher consciousness. We have a superpower, every single one of us. But everyone is different. Some people it's hypersensitivity. Some people are amazing artists, but for some reason, when they were younger, somebody said something or did something that made them uncomfortable, And they just never looked at it again. And yet, when you have that blend, your mind tells you what's right. It tells you where to go and what to do. You don't spend as much time on, oh my God, how do I handle this? It becomes easy. True story. Night before 9/11, in my head I kept hearing, take your phone book. Take my phone book? I have a phone. What do I need a phone book for? Take your phone book. I have a telephone. I don't need a phone book. Take a phone book. By midnight, I was like, fine, I'll take my phone book. The phone book was actually a day timer. Do you remember those? About this big, this thick, bulky, cumbersome, a pain in the butt. I had a little suitcase. Where am I putting my phone book? Take the phone book. Okay, just to shut that voice up, and so I don't have this agita going on in my stomach, I'm gonna take the phone book. I stick it in my suitcase. Take a plane, and I get on the plane, I'm like, something's not right. But I say to myself, am I okay? And I hear, yep, you're okay. Like, all right, so something's not right, but I'm okay. And I'm noticing on the plane, something doesn't feel right. Next thing you know, the pilot gets on and says, I'm terribly sorry, but we're being diverted from New York to Atlantic City. And everybody on the plane is like, oh my God, what's going on? These people are bobbing and they're praying and they're all kind of freaking out. And I hear, just go with the flow. And I'm thinking, really? This can't be a good thing. But that's that linear, that analytical part, right? Going, hey, what are you worried about here? Start worrying. That other part, because I do that whole meandering back and forth, says, it's gonna be fine. I'm like, okay. We land in Atlantic City, and the pilot gets back on and he says, I'm terribly sorry, but New York City was attacked. And you'll understand more when you exit the plane. Please do so in order, quietly. Of course, everybody tries to push out. There's monitors now everywhere that you're looking, and of course you're watching buildings being attacked, and people are freaking out and screaming and crying. And I hear, go with the flow. And I'm thinking to myself, you gotta be kidding me. Go with the flow? Have I lost it? What's going on here? And then I hear the phone book. I'm like, oh. I had friends that lived in Atlantic City. Hadn't seen them in about 10 years. My one girlfriend had remarried. Her new number was not in my phone. Guess where I stayed for a week? Because I had my phone book. There's a benefit here, I'm telling you. It's not just raising vibrations so that you handle things and you go with the flow and your mind is telling you that it's okay, but it really has to do with your safety as well. Lots of little things come up too. For instance, you kind of get the feeling to make a right turn instead of a left, and you're thinking, why am I making a right turn? I never make a right turn. But there's that part of your mind, that higher knowing that says, go ahead and do it. You'll be happy. And you make that turn, and you're like, oh, there's my ex-boyfriend. Oh my God, and I look good today. I can drive up and say hi. The things that I'm talking about are relatively easy. It is more a matter of, do you want to be more connected with yourself? We all come into this world with gifts. We all come into this world so amazingly, incredibly wonderful. And then by the time we're 5, we're wondering, okay, should we share our toys with that little guy over there because we may have more or they have less? Where does that judgment come from? Gotta tell you, it doesn't come from our higher consciousness. And just simply getting into the habit of doing that metered breathing a few minutes a day, you start to create peace. You start to allow that little voice from the intuitive side to speak to you on a regular basis. And the nice thing about it, there's no stress. I mean, really, there's no stress. And of course, there's a myriad of ways that I work with clients, and sometimes they do an apprenticeship program and we work together for a year and we come across all sorts of things. But it's a matter of what's good for you. You start with something. If you're not happy in your world, go see Cassie, go see Noah, See me. See somebody who can guide you in the right direction. But first, get clear. Are you doing everything that you could possibly do for you? Are you waking up in the morning going, yay, it's a new day, I'm happy? Or are you waking up going, dang, it's a new day. I don't want to get out of bed. I gotta get up and feed the dog. I don't want to go to work. But I need the money. I'm sorry, that's not a really good way to live. I don't know about you, but not liking that. It's not about the millions of dollars, which, by the way, is viable. I'll tell you a real quick story here, which I think is just incredible. Years back, I was in a wedding party, and one of the groomsmen ended up, after we had spoken, after we spent a little time together, won the dang lottery in Philadelphia. Swear to God. And I'm going, where's mine? Really? You won the lotto, I get nothing? There's something wrong with this. A year later, he won again. My timer is telling me we are at an end. But I do honestly want to share one last thing, and that is be open. Be open to doing something for you. Gratitude is huge as far as raising vibration, but you gotta keep doing it if you want your vibration up. Breathing and being still, with no judgment, with no distractions, you can do for a few minutes a day. I mean, think about it. If you're like, oh, but I'm too busy, there's the kids, there's the work, there's this, there's that, go to the bathroom. Who's gonna stop you? I mean, really, go in there and close the door. Take a breath. Without thought. And I'm not suggesting you eliminate thought totally like a lot of people will say when you meditate, because it's virtually impossible to do that. But what you can do is put your thoughts somewhere that will help you. Oh, I'm counting. Oh, I'm listening to my breath. Oh, I'm thinking about floating on a raft. And it's a beautiful day. And I feel relaxed. And the birds are chirping. And I hear the water in the background. Stress can be alleviated. Mind can be peaceful. That commingling that we started out with starts to happen on its own. And what's really cool is a side effect is you know stuff. All of a sudden, you just have a feeling that your mom's gonna call and ask you to take her to the doctor. And you pick up the phone, you go, hi mom. Not because your caller ID said it was mom. You just pick up the phone and you know. Very easy to manage. Though if you'd like some assistance, just give a holler. I am Halley Elise, and I thank you.
Yes, me too. Me too. Well, it is now time for one of my favorite parts of the evening, and that is the raffle prizes. Did everybody get a raffle ticket that needs one? Does anybody